My phone lit up at 3:17 a.m. Again. If you really loved me, you'd answer. I guess I know where I stand now. My stomach twisted into that familiar knot, dread, guilt, and fear all wrapped together. I'd fallen asleep without telling him. A simple human mistake. But in Nate's world, there were no simple mistakes, only betrayals. I fumbled for my phone, trembling fingers typing another desperate apology. This wasn't the first time, and deep down, I knew it wouldn't be the last. But how did I get here? How did I, Zoe, 26, independent marketing coordinator with friends who always called me the strong one, end up sitting in my darkened bedroom, apologizing for falling asleep? It began with a message on Instagram from someone who had liked my travel photos. Nate, photographer, wanderer, seeker of beautiful moments. We started talking about photography, then travel, books, life. Conversations flowed effortlessly. He was well-read, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in my thoughts. For the first time in years, I felt truly seen. Rarely do you meet someone who understands the world the way you do, he wrote one night, 3 weeks into our conversations. Sometimes I feel like I've known you my whole life. I felt it too, that uncanny sense of recognition. As if he could finish my thoughts, anticipate my reactions. When I confessed my secret dream of opening a small gallery for unknown photographers, he didn't laugh or list practical objections like my ex had. Instead, he sent links to successful small galleries and said, I can absolutely see you doing this. You have the eye and passion for it. The first red flag was so subtle, so wrapped in caring language, that I mistook it for devotion. I mentioned going to a concert with my friend Ryan. Nothing unusual. Ryan was happily married with a baby on the way. But Nate's response had an edge. Ryan, you've never mentioned him before. Must be an important person in your life to go to all that trouble midweek. When I explained who Ryan was, Nate sent a string of messages. Sorry if I seem jealous. It's just that I care about you so much already. The thought of you with someone else, even just as friends. I guess it shows how much you mean to me. I've been hurt before. My ex used to lie about who she was with. I found myself reassuring him, even sending a photo of Ryan, his wife and me at their wedding to prove, what exactly? That I wasn't lying. But in that moment, it felt like I was simply easing his understandable insecurity, showing him he could trust me. That night, he sent a longer message that made my heart race. Zoe, I've never told anyone this so quickly, but I think I'm falling in love with you. I've never connected with anyone the way I connect with you. 6 weeks of intense conversation, and he loved me. It seemed fast, but hadn't I felt it too? That immediate, powerful connection. That sense of having found someone who truly understood me. I told him I was falling for him too. We planned to meet. He lived across the country in Seattle, while I was in Boston. The distance was frustrating, but he talked about it as a temporary obstacle in our story, not a permanent barrier. But 3 weeks before his scheduled visit, Nate called in distress. Zoe, something terrible happened. My sister was in a car accident. Of course he had to go. Family comes first. The next 2 weeks our conversations revolved around her surgeries, his anxiety, and the financial strain of staying in Phoenix indefinitely. The medical bills are crushing her. Insurance is fighting everything. I'm trying to help, but photography gigs have been slow, and even hospital parking is costing me a fortune. That evening he first hinted at money, but didn't ask directly. He didn't have to. I volunteered. Nate, please let me help. How much would it take to cover some of Lily's immediate expenses? I have some savings. He refused at first, proud and independent. But after my continued insistence, he reluctantly agreed to accept a loan of $2,000. I'll pay you back as soon as things stabilize, he promised. You're saving us, Zoe. I don't know what I'd do without you. I sent the money that night, feeling good about helping the man I loved during a crisis. The relief and gratitude in his voice when he called to thank me felt like validation. I was his rock, his safe harbor. I didn't know then that I just passed a test. I didn't know that Lily didn't exist. I didn't know that I had just taken the first step into a carefully constructed trap. As I now sit staring at my phone at 3:17 a.m., heart pounding as I type out yet another apology for falling asleep without permission, I still don't fully understand how I got here. But one thought keeps surfacing through the fog of fear and confusion. This can't be love. This can't be what love is supposed to feel like. The $2,000 was just the beginning. After Nate's sister stabilized, our relationship took on a new dynamic. Our conversations, once filled with dreams and laughter, now centered on his struggles. The gallery owner I was counting on backed out of our agreement. I'm behind on rent now, and I'm worried they'll lock me out of my apartment. All my equipment is there, my whole livelihood. I sent another $1,500. It was becoming a pattern. Crisis, reluctance to accept help, gratitude that made me feel irreplaceable. Meanwhile, Nate's presence in my life intensified. He'd text throughout my workday, expecting immediate responses. If I didn't answer quickly enough, I'd receive a barrage of messages ranging from worried to accusatory. Are you with someone? Is that why you're ignoring me? Look, I'm sorry if I'm being paranoid, but after what my ex did to me, you're all I have, Zoe. I just need to know you're not pulling away. I started keeping my phone visible during meetings, checking it obsessively. My boss noticed. Everything okay, Zoe? You seem distracted lately. My friends noticed too, mainly because I was no longer available. Dinner plans, birthday celebrations, weekend outings, I declined them all, claiming work stress or fatigue. The truth was, being with others meant being away from my phone, which meant making Nate anxious. It was easier to stay home. One night, my college friend Mia stopped by unannounced. You've practically disappeared, she said, concern etching her face. We haven't had a real conversation in months. I was in the middle of a video call with Nate when she arrived. I introduced them, hoping it would go smoothly. But after she left, Nate's mood darkened. She doesn't like me. I could tell by the way she looked at me. She's probably telling you to break up with me right now. That's not true, I insisted. Mia just misses me. It's obvious she's jealous of our connection. She wants you all to herself. These so-called friends, they'll turn you against me because they don't understand what we have. His words planted seeds of doubt. Maybe Mia was jealous. Maybe my friends didn't understand. Maybe maintaining those friendships wasn't worth the conflict they caused with Nate. When Mia texted the next day, I'm worried about you. Let's talk when you're ready, I never replied. Isolation made me more dependent on Nate for emotional support, validation, and companionship. And he was always there, filling every minute of my day with his presence. When I wasn't texting him, I was thinking about him, worrying about his latest crisis, or wondering how to make him happy. Then the emergencies escalated. His landlord raised the rent. His car needed repairs. His camera was stolen. Each crisis required financial assistance, which I provided from my dwindling savings. Each time I helped, Nate promised to pay me back once things turned around. I started using my credit cards to cover my own expenses. I canceled my gym membership. I stopped ordering takeout. I told myself these were temporary sacrifices for our future together. Then came the day I checked my bank account and felt a chill run down my spine. I had less than $500 left in savings. My credit cards were nearly maxed out. I was one unexpected expense away from financial ruin. That night, I broached the subject carefully. Nate, I'm really struggling financially. I don't think I can help with money anymore. His response was immediate, his voice tight with hurt. I can't believe you're bringing this up now. After everything I've been through, my sister almost died. I lost my best client. And now you're counting dollars and cents? Do you know how that makes me feel? Like I'm just a burden to you. That's not what I've never felt so alone. I thought you were different. I thought what we had was special. By the end of the call, I was the one apologizing. I was the one promising to find a way to help him. I was the one feeling guilty for even mentioning my financial strain. That night, I applied for a personal loan. Not for me, for us. For our love. The trap was closing tighter around me, and I still couldn't see it. 4 months into our relationship, and still we hadn't met in person. There were always reasons. His sister's recovery, work obligations, financial troubles. Each time we planned a visit, something would go catastrophically wrong at the last minute. I was living in an endless cycle of anticipation and disappointment. Each canceled meeting left me more desperate for his approval, more willing to accept the crumbs of his affection. The personal loan I'd taken out, $5,000 at a predatory interest rate, was gone within weeks. Half went to Nate for a business opportunity that would set us up for our future together. The rest covered my own mounting bills. But something else was happening too. Something inside me was starting to wake up. It began with a password. Nate had asked for my Netflix login months ago, reasonable enough. Then my Amazon Prime. Then my email password, just in case something happens to you. Each request was wrapped in practical excuses, but each surrender of privacy felt wrong in ways I couldn't articulate. Then came the request that finally triggered my suspicions. "I need you to send me your bank account login," he texted one morning. "I found this amazing investment opportunity, but we need to act fast. I can handle everything on your behalf." My finger hovered over the send button. Something stopped me. "I don't feel comfortable sharing that," I replied. His response was immediate and explosive. "So you don't trust me? After everything we've been through? Fine. I guess I know where I stand with you now." He disappeared for 3 days. No calls, no texts. I was frantic, sending desperate messages, apologizing, begging him to respond. When he finally did, his tone was cold, distant. I had wounded him deeply, he said. Betrayed his trust. By the end of our conversation, I had agreed to share my bank login information to prove my trust. But as I typed out the information, a small voice in my head grew louder. What was I doing? I deleted the message and instead typed, "I need some time to think about us." That's when the threats began. "If you leave me, I'll share those intimate photos you sent me with everyone. Your friends, your family, your coworkers. What do you think they'll say when they see that side of perfect little Zoe?" My blood ran cold. The photos, intimate but not explicit, had been sent during a vulnerable moment, a gift of trust. Now they were weapons. "And think about all the money you've loaned me," he continued. "You'll never see a penny of it again if you walk away. I'll make sure of that." I sat in my apartment, phone in hand, trembling. This wasn't love. This was extortion. This was abuse. That night I couldn't sleep. I paced my apartment, mentally reconstructing our relationship. The perfectly crafted messages that mirrored my interests and values. The crises that always seemed to happen when I expressed doubt. The way he'd isolated me from friends and family. The escalating financial demands. Had any of it been real? Morning came, and with it clarity. I pulled out my laptop and started searching. Online romance scams, emotional manipulation, financial abuse signs. Each article I read was like looking in a mirror. The patterns were so clear, so textbook, I couldn't believe I hadn't seen them. With shaking hands, I typed his name into a search engine along with the word scam. What I found shattered the last of my illusions. A forum thread with 5 other women, all sharing stories painfully similar to mine. Different names, different occupations, but the same man. The same tactics. I wasn't special. I was just the latest target. I closed my laptop and sat in silence, letting the reality sink in. The humiliation was overwhelming, but beneath it was something else. Anger. Pure, cleansing anger. This man hadn't loved me. He'd studied me, mirrored me, manipulated me. He'd used my compassion, my trust, my capacity for love as weapons against me. For the first time in months, I felt something other than fear or confusion. I felt resolved. I knew what I had to do, but fear still gripped me. What if he followed through on his threats? What if those photos ended up online, sent to my workplace, shared with my family? With trembling hands, I called the one person I'd neglected for months, Mia. "I need help," I whispered when she answered. The tears came then, months of bottled fear and shame pouring out. Mia listened without judgment as I told her everything. The manipulation, the money, the threats. When I finished, her voice was steady, resolute. "You're not going through this alone anymore." That afternoon, Mia came over with her laptop. Together, we documented everything. Screenshots of messages, records of money transfers, the forum where other victims had shared their stories. We changed all my passwords, secured my accounts, and contacted my bank to flag potential fraud. "We need to report him," Mia said. The thought terrified me. What about the photos? What if he? That's blackmail, Zoe. It's a crime. And you're not the only victim. We filed reports with the Internet Crime Complaint Center, the FTC, and the police. The detective who took my statement had seen cases like mine before. These predators count on shame keeping their victims silent, she explained. By speaking up, you're already taking back your power. The next step was harder. I had to confront Nate. I wrote a carefully worded message. I know what you've been doing. I've spoken with other women you've scammed. I've filed reports with the authorities. If you contact me again, or share any personal content, those reports will be updated with your latest threats. His response was immediate and vicious. Accusations, gaslighting, more threats. I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded his message to the detective. Then I blocked him on every platform. The aftermath wasn't easy. I had to face the financial damage. Nearly $10,000 gone, credit score in shambles, loan payments stretching into the foreseeable future. I set up appointments with a financial counselor and started the long process of rebuilding my finances. The emotional recovery was harder. Some days I'd wake up reaching for my phone, anxious that I hadn't responded to him. Other days, shame would overwhelm me. How could I have been so blind? So stupid? But gradually, with Mia's support and weekly sessions with a therapist who specialized in emotional abuse, I began to see the truth. I wasn't stupid. I had been targeted by someone skilled at manipulation, someone who had studied how to exploit human trust and compassion. Your capacity to love wasn't a weakness, my therapist told me. It was a strength that was weaponized against you. But that doesn't mean you should stop loving or trusting. It means you learn to trust yourself first. 3 months after ending things with Nate, I received an email from a woman named Vanessa. You don't know me, but I found your name on a forum about online scams. I think we've been targeted by the same man. Your post saved me from sending him money. Thank you for speaking up. For the first time since the nightmare began, I felt a flicker of purpose. By sharing my story, I had protected someone else. My pain had meaning. That evening, I started writing, really writing, about everything that had happened. Not just the facts, but the emotions, the red flags I'd missed, the tactics he'd used. The shame that had kept me silent for so long began to dissipate with each word I typed. I was no longer just a victim. I was a survivor with a voice. And I was going to use it. 1 year has passed since I sent that final message to Nate. 1 year of rebuilding, recovering, and reclaiming my life. The financial damage wasn't easily undone. I'm still paying off that personal loan, still rebuilding my credit score. But I've made peace with the fact that money can be replaced. What matters is that I stopped the bleeding before he took everything. In the months following our breakup, I learned I wasn't alone. My blog post about online emotional abuse went viral, connecting me with dozens of survivors with similar stories. We formed an online support group, sharing resources and encouragement. When one woman was too afraid to go to the police, several of us accompanied her. When another struggled to explain what happened to her family, we helped her find the words. I also reconnected with old friends, people who welcomed me back without judgment, who understood that isolation is part of the abuse cycle. My relationships are deeper now, built on honesty about my experience and the vulnerabilities that made me susceptible. The most surprising part of recovery was rediscovering myself, not the version of me that existed before Nate, but a new version, wiser and more compassionate toward my own humanity. I still dream of opening that photography gallery someday, but now I also speak at community centers about recognizing the signs of online predators. I volunteer with a cybercrime awareness program. I've turned my wound into purpose. There are still hard days. Days when an unexpected text makes my heart race with panic. Days when I question my judgment or replay old conversations, looking for signs I should have seen. But those days grow fewer as time passes. I've learned that healing isn't linear. It's messy and uneven, with setbacks and breakthroughs. The important thing is to keep moving forward, to find meaning in the pain, to help others avoid the trap I fell into. I've also learned about real love, not the intoxicating, mirror image connection Nate manufactured, but something genuine and imperfect. Real love doesn't demand financial proof. Real love respects boundaries. Real love allows space for other relationships. Real love builds you up rather than breaking you down. Most importantly, I've learned that the greatest love story isn't about finding someone who completes you. It's about reclaiming yourself when someone tries to consume you. Today, I'm dating again, cautiously but hopefully. I've learned to watch for red flags without assuming they're behind every corner. I've learned that vulnerability isn't weakness when it's built on self-respect. I've learned that my story isn't over, it's still being written, one day at a time. If you're reading this and recognizing your own relationship in my words, please know that you're not alone. What you're experiencing isn't love, it's abuse. And yes, emotional and financial abuse through a screen is still real abuse. You might feel trapped right now. You might feel that no one will understand. You might be terrified of the consequences of walking away. I felt all those things too. But I promise you there is a way out. There are people who will believe you, support you, and help you rebuild. There is life after this nightmare, and it's worth fighting for. If someone you met online makes you feel scared, small, or trapped, that's not love. That's abuse. Speak up, protect yourself, and remember, real love never comes with threats. Your story isn't over. It's waiting for you to reclaim it. If you've ever been manipulated or know someone who has, subscribe now to help spread awareness of these dangerous online predators. Every subscription helps the story reach someone who might be falling into the same trap right now. Hit that notification bell because your single click could literally save someone's financial future and emotional well-being. Don't scroll away. This could be the most important channel you ever subscribe to.